New haircut. I've refreshed my hair colour and I am back on my bullshit. Also, my hair, I was aiming for cute 70s hippie vibe, and then Dan pointed out that I am, like, especially when my hair's tied back now because of the little, like, long bangs, that I am essentially Azula, Lord of the Fire Nation. We're just gonna roll with it. We're just gonna roll with it because I'm alright with that. Personally. I love the Fire Nation. Today I wanted to do something really cute and cozy and relaxing. So I've got my comfy 90s sweater on and I've got a cup of tea with decidedly less sugar in it than I am comfortable with. We are gonna do a bookshelf tour. We're going to talk about the styling of my bookshelf, some of the specific books that are on my bookshelf, and how I like to organize it. So there's going to be a few little different sections here. So let's talk about the styling of the bookshelf. I wanted it to look pretty, but I wanted it to be useful and pragmatic. So I went for these little vignettes within it of stacked books that I can put little trinkets and ornaments on top of. I've got a vintage camera, a picture, my little Russian doll, all that kind of stuff. Things that just break it up. And also, key point, because this is such a dark north-facing room, and we've only got one window, so I really, really wanted the wall colour behind to peek through at different points so that it didn't look really heavy and cluttered and just like a solid wall, right? I wanted to break it up a little bit. So that's the main points that I focused on when I was styling it. Other than that, I basically just chucked everything on and hoped for the best. And I've got a couple of little things that are just set up throughout the shelves just to draw attention to certain books and certain areas of the shelves, just to kind of break it up and lead the eye around. Let's talk about the organization of the bookshelf, which is going to be real short because essentially there's a rough idea of one subject roughly per shelf. I like to do it like that and just have like loose categories, if you will, because I'm always reading books and I'm always looking at books, so I spend a lot of time looking at these shelves. I'm going to learn where everything is regardless of how well or how badly organized it is, but if someone wants to come in and borrow a book, or if I want to find something quickly, if I just know where exactly to get it, then it's a lot easier. I really, really love buying old books. Mostly, I'll be honest, mostly for the aesthetic, but I always try and find old books that not only look really cool, but that are also, like, I would read that, realistically speaking. As long as the book isn't, like, falling apart, I will read most of the books that I buy. I'm going to switch you now to GorillaPod. We're going vlog mode, and we are going to have a little bit more of an up-close personal look at my bookshelf. So this is the bookshelf as a whole. Ignore that lamp. I still haven't decided on lights in here, so we're just running with it for now. I've got all my DVDs and games up at the top there and old photos. If you're wondering why in 2021 we keep quite so many DVDs, it is because the internet on Sky is absolutely shocking, and about 2 or 3 times a year the internet craps out for no reason and you can't stream anything. So I keep DVDs of all my absolute favorite stuff. Just to like forewarn you, because there's a trollop sitting on the general fiction shelf. This is not a brilliantly defined organizational system. This is very much a general idea. So it's probably not properly organized. For the most part, general fiction. There was another book there that my brother borrowed. Then I've got a little bit more general fiction, and then we're into the classics. This is all classic here, up to this pile. What have I got on this pile? Little Dorrit, love Little Dorrit. Book of John Keats. Scott's poetical works that I had to do emergency surgery with some sellotape with because the poor thing was absolutely falling apart. Some more Trollope. I haven't read very much Trollope, but I'm kind of okay with it. And then we're into the kind of beginning of the historical fiction. I am a big fan of historical fiction. I particularly like historical murder mysteries. Retribution Road was a good one for that. This was actually a translation. I think it was originally written in French. It's good. About 2/3 of the way in it becomes a little bit heavy going, but it is good. I did enjoy that one. Skin is a really interesting one. I've never really read anything like that. Obviously the classic Daphne du Maurier, Rebecca, and then some Susan Hill. The Book Thief is amazing. Witchlight is amazing. Random history book about the union between England and Scotland in the 1700s. Honestly, I haven't read that yet, but I just realised upon moving here, I've also got a book on the Scottish clearances, which is clearly not fiction. I actually don't know very much about Scottish history in particular, so I wanted to read some, so I picked up a few books about the history of Scotland, and I just haven't quite got to it yet. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine, is absolutely adorable. These I bought, these are the Emily Organ series. It's published by Amazon, so you can only buy them on Amazon, I think. Which obviously I don't do anymore. So this will be the full collection. I won't be buying any more Emily Organ books because they're published by Amazon. His Bloody Project was a good one. I remember that being, that's like based in reality. It's about a murder trial in the Highlands back in the day. And then onto the cute stuff. So this is what I was saying about having cute little vignettes of stuff that I want to display. So these two books by Katana Comics were anniversary presents from Dan for me because we love all these cute little comic things. And I didn't even know that she had published books, but she had, and I love them. I think they're so cute. So I've got them both there, and I like to read through them every now and again. And then behind them, let me just move snug out the way, begins in earnest the classic literature. A lot of Gaskell, a lot of Austen. I've got several copies of most Austen books. 2 Pride and Prejudice there, a collection of Jane Austen letters, Bronte, Eliot, and then these here are my Penguin Classics because they all go so nicely together. You can see certain ones. I have never read The Mill on the Floss, and I started reading The Mysteries of Udolpho, and yes, for a lot of purists, I'm sorry, but I am very hard on my books. I'm a corner folder. I don't use bookmarks, sorry. Bleak House was an absolute mission. I have never finished it to this day. Frankenstein, loved it. Return of the Native, studied it in school. This is my annotated copy of the Return of the Native that we studied in school. Still really like it, so I keep that around. And Wuthering Heights obviously is a classic. This is a newer copy. I had an old copy that fell apart, so. Oscar Wilde, more Jane Austen. Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, lovely book. More Austen, Shakespeare, Fitzgerald, more Austen. What is that? I think that's 4 copies of Pride and Prejudice that I've got on this shelf alone. It's my favourite book in the whole wide world. This is hilarious. Pride and Promiscuity. This is like a parody. Lost Jane Austen scenes. It's someone's written a whole load of sex scenes for Pride and Prejudice. And I found that in a charity shop years ago. It's bloody hilarious. More historical fiction, a little bit of poetry, and the first copy of The Hobbit, which I believe I have 3 copies of on this shelf alone. This is another book that I like to display because it's so pretty. That's just a book of the history of lingerie, basically, and it is sitting hilariously on top of Lorna Doone and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, which is funny. And it's also sitting next to John of Gaunt, which only in my house. More historic fiction, Greek myths. Then we're into the biography section. So this is sort of anything to do with people's lives. I've got quite a few biographies that I haven't yet finished. Rudolf Nureyev and Jackie Kennedy, they're ones I haven't finished. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. This is for research, for something that I'm writing. I dip in and out of this. I'm not reading it specifically to read it. Darcy Bustle, fantastic dancer. Vivian Lee, Becoming Michelle Obama, obviously. And then we're into my little section of some favourites that I kind of always dip into. I follow Kate Welsh on Twitter and I absolutely bloody love her. I think she is brilliant. The Wages of Sin and The Unquiet Heart are the first 2 books in a series about a medical student in Victorian Edinburgh called Sarah Gilchrist. She's fantastic. What a brilliant heroine. Gregory Murchison is just a wonderful hero. He's great. A wonderful protagonist. Big fan. And then we are into the shelf of encyclopedias. So this is my encyclopedia collection, which runs from Anglo-Saxon all the way through to the late Stuarts. Obviously, the majority of the historical books I have are based in English history because that's what I was studying at school. That's what I always knew. So that's why I'm trying to find good work on Scottish history so that I can add to my collection of historical books and actually learn something about Scotland and the history of where I now live. Then here we have got another little vignette with a lovely big Yankee candle. I don't burn candles because of the cats, or singular cat now, unfortunately. Violet in particular, before she passed on last week, was a big fan of sticking her face in anything with a flame, so I learnt very early on not to burn actual candles. These 2, Dita Von Teese, I love Dita Von Teese, I think she's fantastic. I've got both her books there, Burlesque and the Art of the Tease. That's the reversible one where Fetish and the Art of the Tease is on the back, and then I've also got Your Beauty Mark. Dan's mum knows that I love old books, so she gave us this old book about mathematics, which is absolutely hilarious. We've also got one that she gave us on intermediate chemistry, and this one, The Hamlin Guide to Home Maintenance. Never heard of it in my life, but I'm all for it. And then just a little picture of Dan and I from our first summer together. This is a big old full-ass shelf of cookery books. I don't love cooking. I am not good at it. Most of these cookery books are my mother's because they don't fit in the caravan, but then also the majority of them that we kept are the majority of the ones that we use. So my brownie recipe comes from this Nigel Slater book, The Kitchen Diaries. Bloody love that. The Covent Garden Soup for Everyday. Bloody love that. Anything by Mary Berry. Bloody love that. This one here, Mary Berry's Ultimate Cake Book, is older than I am, and we still use it for pretty much all our birthday cake needs. Special shout out, by the way, to this one called The Seafood Shack, which is a seafood shack based in Ullapool where they sell the most gorgeous seafood. Dan loves seafood. I'm not such a big fan of seafood. But Dan loves seafood and he knows the owners, they're family friends. So we obviously had to buy this to support them because we love them. We have tried a few recipes from here and they are absolutely delicious. The food that they sell in Ullapool is fantastic as well. So here we are on the floor. These are all random non-fiction books and educational books. Practical Self-Sufficiency, the Monty Don book, that kind of stuff. I've also got some Vogue archive stuff. The Dan and Phil book that somebody gave me for a present many, many years ago. All my knitting books, books along here as well, and big books that do not fit on any other shelf. More Audrey Hepburn. Face Paint by Lisa Eldridge. Bloody love that book. It's all about the history of makeup. It's really interesting. More Jane Austen. Some photography encyclopedias as well. And Mary Berry's Household Tips and Tricks. I love that. These ones over here tend to be mostly my mum's. They were my granddad's. There's a few that are still mine. Lord of the Rings trilogy, that kind of stuff. A few more classic literature. A big ass stack of Jane Austen hardbacks. But I am missing Northanger Abbey from this pile. It's here somewhere. I own it. And I know that because I took the paper cover off, because it was getting really dog-eared when I was reading it. And I've got absolutely no bloody clue what I've done with it. But it's in this house somewhere. I know it is. So anyway, another gap there where my brother borrowed a book. A lot of history books. My granddad was obviously very into history. And for the most part, they're really interesting. I've also got some fantasy novels that I've put down there. Terry Brooks and Garth Nix and that kind of thing. That I've never read, but that I would like to. And I think, yeah, it looks really full, and yeah, it could look a lot prettier, but it's so practical, and I know where everything is, and it's roughly organized, so I'm more than happy with that. And I think these little moments, like with the books that are on display and the little plant and trinkets and stuff, I think it just breaks it up and stops it looking quite so heavy, so then the house, or the room, I should say, doesn't look too dark. So that is my bookshelf tour. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope if you like books as much as I do, that you maybe saw something that might be of interest. If you've got any book recommendations, drop me a comment and let me know, because as much as Dan hates it, I'm always buying new books and I'm fine with it, so we'll just run with it. Let me know what your favourite book is in the comments. I would be super interested to see and check them out. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, it really helps us out. Hit that ring bell button to be notified every time I upload a new video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!